So part two here is going to look at suretyships. So here in the suretyship, we essentially have three parties. So we've talked about the different types of debt that can be set up between the creditor and the debtor, and the liens that are filed on the mortgages and such. Now with suretyships, you're just bringing in a third party that's going to guarantee that debt. The surety, though, is essentially a co-signer of the debt. So when we use the term a surety, typically that person is obligated to make the same payments as our um, debtor would. So our third party here is going to make a promise to pay, so that if the debtor doesn't pay, there's two different terms. There's the guarantor, or there's the surety. But those relationships kind of depend on whether or not we have to seek the payment of the debt first from the debtor. So suretyship, essentially, in purest form, is that we wouldn't necessarily have to go to our a debtor first to receive the payment. So this is the idea that there's a primary responsibility element to the surety, for the surety. So a surety says basically, I've signed this now, and if you want to come after me or the original debtor, that's fine. As a practical matter, very rarely would you sign on as a surety for someone without compensation or some sort of employment arrangement or some other reason that you're willing to take on this debt. Um, Typically in small business settings, it can be debt that's taken from business debt that's taken, and then we have personal guarantees on that debt, sometimes to get bank financing, for example. The guarantee says, as a guarantor, I you can come after me to pay the debt, but only if you can't collect from the original debtor. So this is sort of, I pulled this out from a textbook and took a shot here, but I think it was helpful just to see the parties and sort of what we have going on. So our surety has a relationship with the principal debtor. The debtor and the surety have a relationship. But then they both have a relationship then with the creditor, who our debtor has made a promise to, and now our surety has also either been primary liable or secondarily liable to that creditor. So what can happen that you can release that surety or the guarantee, or they no longer on the hook? There could be a material modification made to the contract. Maybe the amount has been substantially altered such that it would require the surety to resign. The property itself could have been surrendered over to the creditor, or we've paid off this debt, and there is no longer a debt that is owed. So most of the time, almost always, our surety is just on the hook for the debt. But there have been times where um, there are valid defenses that have been raised. So some of those would include incapacity or bankruptcy, um, a statute of limitations issue that the debt is too old, or if there was fraud in the induction or fraud in the actual instrument, then there could be a release of that surety or guarantor. So there are some more extreme ways that our surety or our guarantor can be held not liable to pay the debt, but they're usually in these areas of law. So as far as what does the surety, the guarantor get, there are some rights. Typically, to sign on as a surety, you have a right of subrogation, simply meaning that you can go after that debt holder, and any rights that the creditor had against the debtor becomes the same rights the surety would have to collect payment. Right of reimbursements. So the debtor has to pay back any expenses that were incurred to pay off the debt to the creditor. Now, there are times when you have multiple sureties, co-sureties. When that happens, there's a right of contribution rule. So if one surety in that arrangement pays more than his or her fair share, they can ask the other sureties to contribute as well. So it's done proportionally to how much is taken on. So these are sort of the key things in the suretyship area is that there's two primary terms, the guarantee or the surety. Surety takes primary liability, guarantor takes secondary liability. From there, we're going to look at the bankruptcy topics next. So I'll post another lecture on that here for you now. Thanks.